Sir John Popham of Wellington, Somerset, was Speaker of the House of Commons, Attorney General and Lord Chief Justice of England. Origins. He was born in 1531 at Huntworth in the parish of North Pedderton, near Bridgewater, in Somerset, the second son of Alexander Popham of Huntworth, twice MP for Bridgewater in 1545 and 1547, by his wife Jane Stradling, daughter of Sir Edward Stradling of St Donat's Castle, Glamorgan. St Donat's Castle, situated on the south coast of Glamorgan, was a short sail across the Bristol Channel into the inland port of Bridgewater on the River Parrett. The Popham family had held the manor of Huntworth since the 13th century, when Sir Hugh de Popham married Joan de Kentisbury, daughter and heiress of Sir Stephen de Kentisbury of Huntworth. His nephew was Sir William Pole, the historian of Devon. Education. He was educated at Balliol College, Oxford, where he read classics and divinity, and entered the Middle Temple as a law student. Career. He served as an MP for Lyme Regis in 1558 and for Bristol in 1571 and 1572, and was a Justice of the Peace in Somerset. He served in the honourable position of Recorder of Bridgewater and of Bristol. He was promoted to Sergeant at Law in 1578 and appointed Solicitor General in 1579. In 1581 he was elected Speaker of the House of Commons and later, that year, was appointed Attorney General. In 1592, following the death of Sir Christopher Wren, he was appointed Chief Justice of the Queen's Bench, which position he retained until his death. Popham is credited with maintaining the stability of the British state, and for being one of the real colonizers of the British Empire, hosting two Wabanaki tribesmen kidnapped on the Maine coast in 1605, subsequently funding and orchestrating the aborted Popham colony at the mouth of the Kennebec River, Maine. Popham became a very wealthy man, and amongst the many estates he owned was Publow in Somerset, Littlecote in Wiltshire, and Hemyock Castle in Devon. In Peter Blundell's will of 1599, Popham was asked to establish a free grammar school in the town of Tiverton in Devon, which resulted in his founding of Blundell's School, which opened in 1604 and still exists to this day. Famous trials. In 1595, Popham presided over the trial of the Jesuit Robert Southwell and passed sentence of death by hanging, drawing and quartering. He also presided over the trials of Sir Walter Raleigh and the conspirators of the Gunpowder Plot, including Guy Fawkes. He was also involved in the trial at Fotheringhay of Mary, Queen of Scots, which resulted in her execution. While working as the messenger to the Queen, Popham was imprisoned by Robert Devereux, 2nd Earl of Essex, with his henchman, ever stoic. Popham replied that at his age death would be but cutting off a few years. Quote, however, he was rescued and rowed to safety by Sir Ferdinando Gorges. He was noted for his severity towards thieves and strict enforcement of the penal laws. Marriage and progeny. John Popham married Amy Adams, daughter and heiress of Hugh Adams of Castleton, Glamorgan, a fortified manor house 800 metres northeast of the village of St Athan. Castleton was from the early 12th century the caput of the lordship of St Athan, established by the Nerba family, and held from the overlords the Earls of Gloucester, comprising 4 knights' fees. John de Nerba was the last in the line, and died in the early 16th century. In 1528, by corrupt dealings, Castleton was acquired by Howell Adams. In 1538, Leland recorded Castleton, a manor place on a hill ascending from the right, and later longed to one Hugh Adam, a man of many lands whose daughter is now heir of it. By his marriage Popham inherited Castleton and sold it to his maternal relative Sir Thomas Stradling of St Donat's Castle. By his wife Popham he had progeny, 1 son and 6 daughters, including Sir Francis Popham, MP of Wellington, Somerset and Littlecote, Wiltshire, his only son and heir. He married Anne Gardner Dudley and was the father of Edward Popham, General at Sea, and of Colonel Alexander Popham, J.P., MP, who fought for the Parliamentarians during the Civil War and had a garrison stationed at Littlecote House. Another of his descendants was Admiral Sir Home Riggs Popham, who developed the signal code adopted by the Navy in 1803. Penelope Popham, Eleanor Popham, Elizabeth Popham, Mary Popham, Amy Popham. His nephew was George Popham, founder of Popham Colony, of which John was one of the principal financial backers. Residences: Wellington House, Somerset. As his main residence he built Wellington House, a large and stately mansion in the town of Wellington, Somerset, only slightly smaller than Montacute, also in Somerset. It was destroyed during the Civil War, having been obtained by stratagem by one Bovet of Taunton, who converted it into a garrison for the use of the Parliament army and defended it for a considerable time against Sir Richard Grenville, who came to its rescue, in which contest it was so battered that it was never afterward deemed worthy repairing. In March 1645 the Royalist commander Grenville was ordered to march into Somersetshire and assist in the siege of Taunton. While inspecting the fortifications of Wellington House, he was severely wounded, and obliged for a time to resign the command of his forces to Sir John Berkeley. Wellington had probably been supplying Blake with necessaries for some time, and Colonel Bovet, a very ardent parliamentarian, got possession of Popham's house and made it a stronghold for his party. So against Wellington, Grenville directed the Royalist force and levelled Popham's house almost to the ground, himself being so severely injured that the leadership of his men had to be transferred to Sir John Berkeley. The following document, dated the 19th of October 1650, was addressed to Justices of Peace of Somerset. Anne Martin of Wellington, widow, being in the house of the Honourable Alexander Popham with her family, at the siege thereof by the late King's forces, sustained great losses of goods and cattle, viz. several kine, 1 heifer, 10 young cattle, 3 calves, 5 colts, a mare and a horse, 40 sheep, 5 beds with the furniture, bacon, butter and cheese, wool, linen, corn of all sorts, pewter, brass, and other movable goods, valued in all at the summer of £115, besides the summer of £22 in ready money, and that her eldest son was killed in the said house by the said late King's forces. Signed Rich. Buell Alexander Popham, EDW. Popham, John Pine, Littlecote House, Berkshire. Popham acquired the reversion of the estate of Littlecote in Berkshire from William Darrell, MP, and following the latter's death in 1589 duly became its owner. The historian John Aubrey stated that Popham had acquired Littlecote as a bribe for having obtained a nolle prosequi in favour of the murderer, William Black Darrell, which account Rice deemed not accurate, and a story of passion, murder and confusion. Popham expanded the house and added a south wing in red brick, which structure survives today. His armorials survive above the south porch. Following the destruction of Wellington House in the Civil War, Littlecote became the principal seat of his descendants, the last of whom in the male line was Francis Popham, of Littlecote and Hunt Street, Somerset, who died without progeny and bequeathed his estates to his nephew Edward William Leybourne, who in 1805, in accordance with the terms of the bequest, assumed by royal license the additional surname and arms of Popham. The Leybourne-Popham family sold Littlecote in 1929 and moved to their other seat at Hunt Street House, Pensford, Somerset. Death and amp burial. Popham died on 10 June 1607 at Wellington, Somerset. He was buried in the Church of St. John the Baptist, Wellington, where exists his large freestanding monument. Monument Wellington Church, at the east end of the north aisle of St. John the Baptist's Church in Wellington, survives the 18-foot-high monument with effigies of Sir John Popham and his family. As described by Collinson in 1791, it was situated in the south aisle chapel, from which it has been moved to its present position, but retaining the same orientation. Collinson described the monument as follows: in the chapel on the south side of the church is a magnificent tomb, surrounded with a palisado of wood and iron, on the table of which lie the effigies of Sir John Popham, and that of his lady. He is dressed in his judge's robes, chain and small square black cap, and placed with his head towards the west. On the lower basement, at the head and feet, are 4 other smaller figures of 2 men and 2 women, kneeling face to face. On the north side of the same basement are 5 boys and 8 girls, dressed in black, kneeling in a row, and on the south side are 9 women kneeling in the same manner. Over Sir John and his lady is a superb arched canopy, ornamented with the family arms, roses, paintings, and obelisks, the whole supported by round columns of black marble, 5 feet high, with Corinthian capitals green and gilt. The 2 male and female couples kneeling opposite each other, separated by a prie-dieu, shown at each end of the monument, are believed to represent his 34-year-old son Sir Francis Popham and the latter's wife, and his parents represented as a middle-aged couple. The 9 female kneeling figures on the south side, all facing westward, are believed to represent Sir John Popham's 6 daughters with 3 ladies maids. The latter 3 figures kneeling behind the daughters and wearing plain not-lace ruffs. The kneeling figures on the north side are believed to represent the 5 sons and 8 daughters of Sir Francis Popham, the son of Sir John Popham. Inscribed on a stone tablet on the west side of the entablature is the following text: Senior John Popham, Knighter and Lord Chief Justice of England and of the Honourable Privy Council to Queen Elizabeth and after to King James, aged 76, died the 10th of June, 1607, and is here interred. Heraldry. A heraldic escutcheon is shown on the north side of the monument to Sir John Popham in Wellington Church of 9 quarters as follows: 1. Argent, on a chief gules, 2 stags' heads cabossed with a crescent sable for difference. 2. Sable, 3 plates of Popham, Hampshire, and daughter of Robert Clark, Fairfie of the manor of Popham. According to the Victoria County History of Hampshire, Gilbert de Popham acquired Popham from Thurstan the Clerk by unknown means. An earlier Thurstan was clerk to William de Pontelache, and was evidently the same Thurstan who was Sheriff of Hampshire in 1155 and who obtained confirmation from the Empress Maud of all his land of Popham which he had held at the death of Henry I. 3. Gules, a pair of wings in lieur argent overall a bend azure. 4. Purple azure and gules, 3 lions rampant argent. 5. Argent, a fess between 3 martlets sable, with a crescent sable for difference of Huntworth. 6. Gules, on a bend argent, 3 escollops sable of Huntworth, grandfather of Sir John Popham, as shown on the monument to Catherine Popham, mother of Sir William Pole, in Collerton Church, Devon. 7. Sable, 3 fishes palewise tails uppermost argent. 8. Argent, a saltire gules between 4 eagles displayed azure, mother of Sir William Pole, in Collerton Church, Devon. 9. Purple argent and gules overall a bend azure.